Welcome to our web exclusive. I'm Mike Montecalvo, along with Eyewitness News Analyst Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio. Obviously, the big topic on this Wednesday, the day we're taping, which is June 1st. It's the start of hurricane season. I think people can't really wrap their hands around this, that June 1st, but here we are, General. This is something, though, that the Emergency Management Agency and government officials plan for all year.
They do. And it just didn't start right in the last couple of days. They plan this, and they have continuing preparedness right after the springtime comes, so to speak. And so when I talked to EMA earlier today, to Michelle, who's the operations person to handle all the plans and operations for EMA, she suggested that one of the major concerns throughout all of the preparedness is to make sure that we have communications with each of the towns and cities. They've started to identify what their resources might be. They need to obviously know who they're talking to, and they don't want to meet them for the first time during an incident. So I'm pretty impressed that they're right on target with at least the preparedness that they should be at right now. You know,
you mentioned that. We've seen this happen around the United States. We saw it with Katrina, but we saw it locally too with Sandy, where people just don't want to leave their homes when local officials are trying to evacuate them.
It is. You know, it's just a psyche thing, and it's just a matter of saying, look, if I'm going to be in the middle of this, I want to be at my own home. No matter how much you try to explain to them that, God forbid, we need to use first responders to go after them when we don't need to, obviously subjecting someone else's welfare on behalf of that. But they still won't move, and unfortunately that's part of the system that needs to be fine-tuned.
Well, if you were watching Eyewitness News this week, you heard Tony Petrarca mention it's going to be an active hurricane season. But the EMA really doesn't look at it's going to be active or not. The plan is in place no matter how many storms are going to hit,
exactly, correct? Right. If you have a plan in place and you execute that plan and people know what the plan requires, you'll be okay. But as Tony said, it only takes one. And that one could be very significant versus the projection perhaps of several. So I think the philosophy has to be, you need to be prepared regardless of whether you think something's coming down your way or not. So I think the point you're making is it doesn't matter. You need to be prepared anyway.
All right, so before you retired, one of the many jobs that you did have was the head of the Emergency Management Agency. And I think a lot has changed, obviously, General, since you retired. Probably the biggest thing to track storms and whatnot has got to be technology.
Absolutely. Even 5 years ago, the technology we have today gives our weather forecasters the ability to determine exactly what's going to happen further closer to us before it happens. Even 5 years ago, they were able to maybe project 3-5 days out. Now I think you can go safely, say maybe a week or maybe more would be more realistic with having so many models. And then they take the average of those models and apply it to this particular area. And that gives the EMA and all the other preparedness efforts to try to make it more reasonable to get ready for that particular incident.
They've also been proactive too. You've seen a lot of tree trimming and other types of things like that happen.
National Grid, certainly I've said this before, I've seen a tremendous effort for them to take the tops of trees off that are overhanging lines, and I think that's gone an awful long way. But this year we're getting a little bit of help with the gypsy moths taking those leaves out. Don't make the trees as heavy. So I hope we don't see that.
Yeah, they're all over the driveway in our houses. That's part of the problem. All right, obviously you can stay with Eyewitness News. We're going to keep you updated throughout the hurricane season. Let's switch gears just for a second, General. Let's talk Iraq. You kind of hear conflicting stories out of there that they've kind of taken back some parts of Fallujah and getting rid of ISIS, but that's not totally the case, right?
That's exactly right. You know, Fallujah's been in the hands of ISIS for 2 years now. The Iraqi elite forces are closing in. The problem is they can't get right into the center and recapture the city because what they're doing, ISIS, is using human shields now. And for them to go in with any kind of substantial force, you would obviously have a tremendous problem with protecting civilians, and they would become casualties themselves. So it's a real fine-tuning that they're having to do. But I think eventually you're going to see a plan that will be able to take the majority part of Fallujah back.
All right, General Centracchio, as always, thank you for your thoughts, and thanks for watching.